Welcome back, everyone. I'm Christopher Brandon with the Coeur d'Alene Public Library and the Cooperative Information Network.
And I'm George Williams. I am the Next Search Catalog Coordinator in Lawrence, Kansas. I was on vacation. Now I'm back in Kansas.
Apparently,
I don't know.
Introduce himself and drink water at the same time. What's up?
Absolutely. It's hot here.
Today, we're going to be talking about customizing Koha, particularly with the upcoming release or the release that just came out for some of you. 2211?
2211 is the new version, yes.
2211. And there's been quite a change to the staff interface and a lot of questions on how to customize some things. George has done a lot of legwork in figuring some things out and is going to share with us today those modifications, particularly in CSS. But before we get started, just a reminder to everybody to be registering for the koha-US conference coming up in September 20th through the 23rd. We are going to be in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. We're excited to be there. The theme is Explore the Possibilities, which fits right in with the things that we do here. So we're going to be exploring CSS and 2211. But first, let's talk about koha-US.
This video is sponsored by koha-US, your place to look for all things Koha. Whether you're just starting out with Koha or you've been with Koha for a while, koha-US is a great place to find resources, learn new tips and techniques, or connect with other users and libraries. Koha-US provides excellent information, both original and curated from around the internet, including the terrific Every Other Day training videos. You will also find several special interest groups to connect with, as well as our general monthly meeting where we gather to talk about the latest Koha news. You should also check out the koha-US annual conference, held at various locations around the US. This is a great opportunity to meet with other users face-to-face, and build your Koha network, as well as new friendships. And of course, don't forget about the great presentations. Koha-US is also actively involved in the Koha community by contributing towards new developments. If you are interested in contributing towards Koha-US funded developments, join the Koha-US membership. Your annual membership builds the funds to sponsor new developments in the community, and as a member, you also help shape Koha-US with your membership votes, and receive a discount on the annual conference. You can also contribute towards developments through a direct donation, or by purchasing some great Koha-US merchandise through our Threadless account. Visit us at koha-us.org to find out more.
All right, George, it's all on you now. It either goes well or it crashes and burns. Go for it.
So we went through a whole rebranding process. I guess it's been about 4 years ago now, 3 years ago. And this library consortium used to be called Nexpress. And we came up with the idea, with help of some marketers, of rebranding our name to Next Search Catalog, because that's the idea is, you go to the website and what do you do next? You search the catalog. And we simplified our website and we changed our logo and we picked these nice colors, got a new website, and we've, simplified the interface and did a lot of different things. But
where's your search button? Just out of curiosity, I'm looking at it. It's like, where do you click?
The magnifying glass.
Oh, okay.
And my experience is that most people don't hit the magnifying glass. They just type.
Press enter.
And press enter.
Yeah, okay.
So we've done all this work on the OPAC, but it's never really translated into the the staff interface. Mm-hmm. And now with this new upgrade to Koha, the staff interface is, the older Koha staff interface had a lot of blues in it. It wasn't too far off from what we were already doing, but the new staff interface is, very green. And so the idea was, there were a couple of things in addition to the colors that, I wasn't really thrilled with.
Like what?
Well, we talked about this a little bit in the last video where I talked about some of the tools that I used to do this redesign of our staff interface. But if you go up and if you load Koha 2211 right out of the box, if you are focused in this search box, how do you tell? There's nothing that happens to indicate that you've focused on the search box.
Other than a blinking cursor.
Yeah, if you're in 2205 and before, when you go in there, it highlights the box.
Right.
And the background.
So it's very subtle.
Yeah, in the new version, it's extremely subtle. I guess that would be one way to describe it. Nothing happens to indicate that you've focused there. There's you can barely tell, when you hover over the check-in button, it moves.
Yes, like
about 2
slightly.
pixels. It moves very small amount. The change in the button when you hover over it, the submit button, is also very, very subtle. You get some green when you hover over the drop downs, but there isn't a lot. It underlines when you hover over the things in the header. The buttons, they do a good job. They go through a major change, but so the things I wanted to do, I also find, this almost white background with this text that isn't black. I don't know what the contrast is between the text and the white background, or the almost white background is, but it for a lot of the, like many people in public libraries in the Midwest, in Kansas, in the United States, most of the people working at small public libraries in the United States are people that are over 50. They're often retired from another job. The library director at one of our libraries is a part-time, we have several library directors that are part-time people that work less than 20 hours a week. They're in their 50s. I have one library director who's 83, and she's dying to retire. She's begging to retire. She wants to retire. And the only reason she doesn't retire is because she's afraid that if she does retire and they won't be able to find somebody to replace her, and they will just end up closing the library. In Corning, Kansas. Yes, it's a big burden to carry when you're she had retired from one job and taken another job and retired from that second job, and now she's working at the library, and it's a library that's only open like 15 hours a week. So it's not a really burdensome job, but being able to read the things in the system for her is a struggle.
Yeah,
and I have several.
Contrast is everything, and I have some themes on WordPress, on some websites that I've worked with, where they throw gray text against white, and it's like, you really aren't trying hard here.
Well, and that's why one of the things that I showed off in the last video is this color blindness, A11Y color blindness empathy test, and it helps you see things through other people's eyes. One of the things I didn't show off in the last one is, there is a box here you can show what it looks like to somebody with moderate vision loss, which is what it looks like to me when I take my glasses off. And then you have severe vision loss and blindness.
Yeah, I wonder what it looks like when you're blind.
Well, and actually, there are some tools out there that you can have on your computer that will help you navigate a web page without being able to see it.
Right.
Very famously, Apple has blind people on staff to test their products. And consequently, you know, the iPad is a great tablet for people that are blind to use, because Apple's gone out of their way to make sure that people with vision impairments can use their products. But anyway, you know, there are some things about the new interface in Koha that I didn't like, beyond just the color, was, you know, some of the accessibility issues. And I'm not putting anybody down, because I know that this is a new iteration of Koha, and there is a lot of work being done in Bugzilla. There's a lot of tickets open,
Yeah,
and there's a lot of stuff happening to solve some of these problems. Now that it's been put out there, now the whole goal is to make it better.
I would like to say the gentleman that I think there was one person that was heading this whole thing up. I know that a lot of people gave input on this.
Yeah.
I love the overall look. It's a huge improvement.
Yeah.
A lot of work went into this, but there were some things that obviously would slip through the cracks that needed to be addressed afterwards. So with that said, you know, a lot of effort went into this new look. I love it overall, but there are some things that just need a little bit of tweaking, especially, you know, this new look is inspiring people to customize some things. And so it wasn't very straightforward in how to customize this. And so you did a lot of legwork to figure out some things that you're going to share with us now that's going to be a tremendous help.
So this is what I've come up with as the new look of the next search catalog staff interface. So like I said, I wanted, you know, when you hover over the buttons in the search bar, I wanted them to look different so that they're easier to spot. When you focus into the box, I did a black outline.
And
that
Jason
actually
Robb helped with that.
Hmm?
Jason Robb helped with
Yes.
out that.
I took Jason's code, and because Jason had submitted that to, I think he put that in a bug in Bugzilla, saying this would fix that problem. And so I used that to the color he used was a yellow, I think. I wanted to make mine match the other things I was doing. But I made it so that these buttons all hover. The header
sharp.
The header buttons don't just underline, they also change color on the hover. I put this into a pill, and I made the colors match. This medium blue that I'm using matches the N and the E and the T in the next logo, and the darker colors that you see in some places, like on some of the hovers, matches the X in the next logo. And so basically what I did is I came up with this idea that I wanted to have a light background with match it with the text that had a good contrast with it. And I used that website that I mentioned last time, the Venngage color accessibility palette generator. I used that to come up with some colors that were sympathetic to the colors we were already using. So I had a light color and a light hover color. And then I have a medium color and a medium hover color. And then I have a dark color and a dark hover color. So that whenever I'm hovering over something that's dark, it gets a little darker. When I'm hovering over something medium, it actually becomes a darker color. And when I hover over something light, it becomes the medium color. And then I also, I wanted to make all of the text black, not that gray, but I wanted it to be blacker. And you couldn't, how much blacker could this be? None more black. And I also, the green links, I decided I wanted them to style as the dark blue that I was using as the dark color. But then I also wanted them to highlight on a hover and to be underlined when they're not hovered.
Right.
So, and then I also And then I also, the one change that you can see pretty quickly there is I liked the idea of having a white background with dark text instead of the dark background with white text that was in the Koha out of the box.
People, I've worked on displays and screens and websites for, good grief, almost for over 20 years. And, contrast is huge, but, having white against a dark background, you can kind of see that just even in your menu, a white tends to be thinner and harder to read against a dark background than a dark against a light background. And so it's always important to weigh how important is it for this to be seen, and if you're not using enough contrast, things just bleed into each other, and it's really, really important. I've gone to people that have designed things that have had similar colors, a similar colored text on top of a similar color background, and said, hey, you know what, this is all one color, and this is really not user friendly. You might want to add more contrast to it. So yeah, this looks great.
There was I don't remember the name of the product, but our Leavenworth Public Library used to have a room booking software that when somebody booked a room, it would show the booking would be in green text on a green background. So it became almost invisible.
Yeah.
Koha isn't that bad. For me, the changing the black on white or white letters on black background, that just made, I don't mind a good dark theme. I actually kind of prefer that. And if there was a way that I could theme Koha to be, to have a good dark theme, but it always feels weird to me when just one part of the page is dark and the other parts are completely different. So
it's like you want to maximize it, and it's like you're not taking full advantage of the full screen. It's like it kind of gives you that sense that you're not fully utilizing your screen. It's kind of a weird mind play there.
So anyway, the last video I talked about Stylus, and Stylus is where I started with all of this. And I also used a part of CSS that I never really used before. So I mentioned that I chose, I started off with my medium color, and there's this command in CSS you can use called root. And so what I did is I used the root command in CSS to create these variables, CSS variables. And I started with my medium color. And so what I did is I said, I'm going to create a variable and I'm going to call it C medium. And that's going to be the color that I'm going to call C medium.
And what is what's the difference between a C medium and a T medium?
So that I'll show you. Let me go back. I also talked last time, I mentioned the accessible color palette generator. And so what I did is I took that medium color that I picked, and I picked that is the background color, and then the T color is the text color that goes with that complements that.
Okay.
So my light color.
So like a text color?
Yeah, the C color is the background color, and the T color is the text color.
Got it.
And so my light color is this light color over here that complements this this medium blue color from our next logo. And the actual background color is this color here, and then the text color is the black color that complements that. So this way, as I went through and figured out what things I wanted to change in Koha, instead of going through and deciding, okay, every place I want this medium color, I need to remember to put in 1F 9B DE. What I could do is I could just say, okay, I know this is going to be medium. So instead I can just call that variable with the CSS variable call, which is VAR parentheses. And then you put the variable in the parentheses, and it's always going to call that color. So the advantage of this into the future for me, let me find Koha again. So there's the home page. If we ever decided, that that we want to change colors, I could change. All I have to do in the future would be to change the variable. So just by changing that from that blue color to red, it changes every place in the CSS where that medium variable appears.
Nice.
So this speeds up the process a lot.
But I assume that those variables don't already exist in Koha.
The variable names, as far as I can tell, Koha isn't using these type of variables in its CSS anywhere.
So you're having to go through all of your pages and assign variables to elements.
And wow. It was a lot of work, but it's not as bad as it sounds. So generally, what a good example is on the circulation page. If we go to one of the sub pages in circulation, there's this sidebar. And so generally speaking, what I did is I would come to a page like this where the styling was all in green. I don't remember, well, I don't remember what the colors were here exactly, but I can always go, this is what it looked like before, without the new CSS. And so what I would do is I would come to a page like this and I would find the element and I would select it and I would say, okay, here's this, this nav menu, and every place there's an H5 on the nav menu, I want to go in here to my CSS. So what I would do is I would find the element that I want to change, and then I would go over here in the inspector in Firefox, and I would find that element. And if you click on these links, this is the rule here. And so you can just right click on this and copy the whole rule. And then go over to my Stylus add-on, and I can find the things, I just rewrote this rule so that essentially I'm taking everything out of this rule except color, and I'm rewriting the rule for the color. And I just gave it a variable of the general text. I picked not just the the colors I picked those basic colors for dark, medium, light, but then I also set colors for the header because I wanted the black, the white background with the black text. But then on hover, I wanted a gray hover pill. And then I set my general text colors as black for all text, unless it's a link, and a link I gave the dark blue color. And so when I figured out, where the nav menu, where that menu H5, all I had to do was say that I want that, wherever that appears, I want it to be general text, my general text color. And once I wrote that, it changes it, not because it's a class, I'm identifying this menu on the left-hand side as a class, not as a specific element. I don't even know if there is a specific ID that's associated with this menu in circulation. There might be. Well, I guess the ID is nav menu and nav menu list. So maybe this one isn't a class. But what I found is that, this nav menu has the same, it appears in a couple of other places. Specifically, one of the ones I know for sure it appears is on the system preferences page. Once I changed it on the circulation page, it changes it on all the other pages where it appears. So it's not like I had to go in and rewrite the code, the CSS for every individual single page. Usually I just had to identify, one element on one page, and then a change to that element would affect all the pages, as it does on the tools submenus and on the circ submenus. Every place where there's one of those menus, that one change affected all of them.
Right.
So really it wasn't, the way that the process that I took to do this is, first I styled the home page. And then after I was done styling the home page, I styled the circulation page and found the things that weren't where the changes on the home page hadn't affected the circulation page. And then after I was done with the circulation page, I did patrons and then advanced search and item search. I did all these modules. And then after I was done with all of those, I went back to circulation, and then I did all the sub pages. I did checkout and check in and renew and all of those. So it was a matter of just, really by the time I was done with the top level modules, that was about 90% of the work, was
Right.
just doing these pages. And then the other stuff was kind of like cleanup. Like, I went through, one of them was, I think I went through all the tools and everything was good until I got to calendar. And then calendar required a whole bunch of extra steps. And then I think on, cataloging, I went through a bunch of things, and then I got to one page, and that one page needed a whole bunch of extra steps. So it took a little bit of time, but I think it was worth it. And it was, some people are going to think I'm crazy, but it was fun. I had a good time doing it. It's not like I was cursing myself going, God, why do I have to do this? It was like, oh, I can do this for a couple hours. Nobody's calling on the phone angry for a while. I can work on this.
I just went through the rewrite of a couple different sites, and I enjoy that stuff. I enjoy, working on the layouts and fixing colors and all that stuff. It's a nice quiet time for me to go and try and figure out how to make something better. So
it's like when you're a kid and you're building an electric train set, look what I can do.
Yeah.
I did all this, So actually, let me go back and share my screen again. So I did put all of this on a web page.
Mhm.
So I've given you the link so we can put it in the video. And it's just a web page, and I described kind of the whole process. I've got links to all the tools that we showed in the last video, the color blindness add-ons, the Stylus add-on, how I developed a color palette. And then at the very bottom is actually all of the CSS that I've done so far. I would not be surprised. I've been through every page, but I'm just one guy working on the test server. I'm sure once we go live with this Koha upgrade on our production server, I'm sure that I'm going to get a call from somebody saying, this doesn't work right.
Do you have, is this page dated so people can know when the last update was done to it?
Well, it isn't dated, but you know what else I did is I thought about this this morning, and I also added a GitHub repository. So I actually put a GitHub repository up called Koha Staff Branding. And so I can make any updates there. So if you go there and you download it, you know, the file is right here and you're welcome to download it. I put it on an MIT license. You can download it and do whatever you want with it. I don't care. It's free for anybody to take and use. The first thing I would say is, I think one of the nice things about it is, now that we've got those colors laid out as variables in this, you could go through and pick your own colors. And I actually, just for fun, I actually set up a bunch of samples. Let me pull up, which page is it? This one. So here we go. Let me change the colors and I can show you how easy it is to change the colors on this. So that's the next search catalog colors. I also used the same process and created a whole set of colors based on red instead of the next search catalog blue. So if we put that in there, then you've got this nice red colored catalog, which is pretty, it's like Valentine's Day gone mad.
There you go.
So do this, do this on February 14th to annoy your coworkers.
You just need to have some hearts floating around every time somebody clicks on something.
I should talk to Jason. He's got that confetti
Yes.
code that he's got. But this is a brown theme. I even, I just picked some colors at random, essentially, and thought, these would be good ones to show off. I mean, this is how simple it is to, you can go in there and change the colors. This one's a fuchsia theme.
Oh my.
But, you can use the colors that go with your library to come up with a set of colors that you like, that fits in with whatever it is you're doing at your library.
So talk to me real quick. You didn't cover this that I recall, but one of the things that is different, aside from the colors, and some of the highlighting, you changed the logo. How difficult was putting the logo in there?
The logo was not too hard. That's the way that I did it. It used to be that I had a logo set up with an actual image file.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that you can't do in CSS. That's something I didn't do in CSS. I think you could do a CSS logo. But this is our test server, and I have some code that does a couple of things for our test server. And then I have some code for that. Here it is, replace logo. So this logo, I can, let me save this. So that's just the Koha logo.
Right.
And if you go up there and look at it, it's in an anchor where the ID is logo.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I've got here is I've just got some jQuery that says find logo and replace it with this HTML. And rather than calling out to a image file somewhere else, I just kind of recreated our logo using text. So what I did is I created a paragraph and I gave it a font size of 1.5 EMs and a font weight of 750 and put a margin on top of it to get it centered where I wanted it, because that was a little tricky. And then I did a span called next logo, and I gave it this blue color that matches the color on our logo on our graphic logo. And then I created another span that made the X the darker color. And then I created another span that gave it a T, and that was it. So really, it's finding that logo ID and deciding what you want to put there.
Right.
And I could have done an image file, but the space that's available in the new place where the logo is now isn't that big, and I didn't want to push down the search bar just to have a different logo there.
Right.
So just doing the text seemed like an easy way to me.
Another option, you could convert your image to SVG. That might be a way to go, and you're not storing a file somewhere. It's all programmed in there and looks more like what you want.
Yeah, our logo is an SVG file, but the text was an easy way to do it. When we were working earlier on the koha-US demo site, that was the way I created the koha-US logo.
Which we're going to have to go in there and fix.
Yeah, somebody will have to go in there and fix it, but it was a way of doing it really quickly just for the video that we recorded earlier today, a different video that we recorded earlier today. So putting the logo there was not that hard. I also on our test server, we have this custom stuff on our test server that points out that it's the test server. That's something that has actually happened before we had this code on our test server. Was a staff member accidentally, did a whole bunch of transactions on the test server at the circulation desk one day, and confused the hell out of everybody at that library. But then we added this, I've got a watermark behind here that says test server, test server, test server. And I've got this up here that says test server. And it's code that's on both of our servers. It's just that whenever it sees that the URL has this staff.neckles-test, it knows that that's the test server, and it puts that on there. But then to make it easier for my coworkers to do screenshots for training, as we get ready for this upgrade to Koha 2211, I've also put this little camera button up here that kills all of our test server stuff so that they can take a screenshot and it doesn't say test server on it. So that was just something fun that I did the other day to make it easier on my coworkers for taking screenshots. So
Clever. All right.
But this is what our new Koha staff interface is going to look like when we upgrade. So
I think it looks wonderful. Thank you for sharing everything that you have done. You've done quite a bit of investigative work. I'm hoping that at some point down the road, the developers will implement those wonderful variables that you've created, because I would love to see down in the future where they do assign those variables and they can go in and actually set it up so you can go and just set the colors that you want, both for the staff and for the OPAC. That would be wonderful.
yeah,
But also, down the road, maybe they could implement dark versions, or allow staff to choose the theme that they want to use, that they work in, whatever is helpful to them.
I know that there's been talk of doing a plugin that would allow staff to like have a dark mode if they want it. So, but I don't know how the work on that has been coming.
Yeah.
So.
Having the site at least set up with those variables makes theming a lot easier for future changes. So if they could do that and standardize
Yeah,
that
if there was
information.
just like a set of system preferences, says, here, enter the hexadecimal color number you want for the dark color. Enter the hexadecimal color you want for the dark text, and so on and so on.
Yeah, things change all the time with CSS and HTML and jQuery, and we're learning new things all the time. And the variables, I mean, that's something I've always wanted to do, and I didn't even realize that was available. And so it's nice to find that out. It's going to simplify my my styling in the future. But I think any time writers can take advantage of those new concepts and put them into practice, it's going to make it a lot easier down the road when they need to adjust something. So yeah, hopefully they can implement that.
Cool.
All right, well, we want to thank everybody for joining us again today, and we will be back in another 2 weeks. But you would know that if you were signed up on our YouTube page, and we're getting alerts as to when we post our next videos. So make sure that you check us out both at koha-us.org to see our training videos, and all of our general meetings are there as well, and our special interest groups. But you can also find all of those videos on YouTube at youtube.com/koha-us, no hyphen, and you'll find all of our playlists. You can also subscribe, you can comment, and you can like our stuff, and we certainly hope that you like our stuff. So until next time, see you later.
See you later, everybody.